Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Vis, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that Attikus Vis's space race ended with ships crashing into the ground. Attikus ran towards the scene of the crime with Valentyne, but found little evidence among the wreckage. Morgan fled while Eli was left to collect Toby, and when they returned to the estate, their ship had been impounded. Can they survive without allies or weapons on Greybridge? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From a Greybridge-wide broadcast. Citizens of the Society, please remain inside your homes while we conduct an investigation into the events of today's horrific tragedy. This is, of course, for your safety as much as it is for mine, and rest assured the celestial season will continue on as expected and as normal after we poke around a bit to see exactly what happened here and ensure that no further unexpected and unexplained occurrences occur. This is your king, reminding you everything is fine as long as you stay inside. You have arrived back at Van Houten Manor. Your ship has been impounded by the King of Greybridge. Guinevere Ballensong is dead, and Tridimus Versailles has been badly injured, having crash-landed through a crowd. Number of spectators and servants are dead, and the spring of the celestial season has been an eventful one indeed. You are back at the manor house, having lost access to your ship. So obviously your kind of best hard spot is now unavailable to you. That said, you did make sure to install kind of a clean upper floor. You're also not aware that there are bugs on this floor. Just your shady crew, Morgan, kind of like they found a bag of bugs, which implies that there are probably a bunch that they didn't find. So you've returned back. There are royal guards still posted outside. You've got guard around the Marnie's Song. You also have guards at the doors to the manor. They're not. They're a suggestion of threat. They're not an active threat, but they seem to both be there as we're keeping people out, but also to report on whether or not you leave. You'll also note that a light rain has begun as the shift into summer has begun, but seemingly out of respect, they seem to have kind of stalled out on that. So as they as the night comes on, so too does a light cloud cover and a light smattering of rain, indicating that the celestial season has gone a bit off the rails. So you are back at the manor house. The general word that Hugh has received is that royal envoys will be around shortly to collect statements and investigate what's going on. Valentyne, you'd indicated that you wanted to position the team as kind of a neutral third party that could investigate, so that will kind of be your chance to do that. That said, you do have some time before that all occurs. The broadcast that opened our episode is kind of playing on repeat. The king clearly kind of recorded it in a rush on his ship leaving the airfield, and it is now just being broadcast widely across Greybridge on sort of the national channel on repeat. What do you all do?
I think before even getting inside, knowing that there's all these royal guards posted and everything like that, Morgan would definitely make a show and step up to Attikus and talk to him and just, "My Lord Van Houten, please request that you be so gracious as to let me and my men stay in your manor, considering my ship is now impounded."
Yes, of course. Robert, please see to it that Miss Rolls here has appropriate quarters for her and her people.
Of course, sir. I'll see it done.
Thank you. You are so very kind.
My pleasure.
And Morgan, as you go to step inside, one of the guards sort of sidles up to you, Attikus, and says, My lord, I noticed that the rogue trader said you are very kind in a way that could perhaps be a threat. Are you under duress? Do you need us to remove her and her servant?
You may concern yourselves with the threats outside of my house. I will concern myself with the threats within.
Looks at your power fist, looks at you, nods, and says, very good, sir. And then just fades back into kind of like standing beside the door. This is not Tantoros, to be clear. Tantoros, this is someone else.
Yeah, what's this guy's name?
We're making a
You
list.
just want names of everyone?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know if Addis has the same. Addis. I don't know if Attikus has the same wherewithal that Valentyne has of clocking someone's name to be like, oh, we could exploit that later.
Valentine's not offended by that one. That guy was just like, do you want me to deal with the problem? That's fine.
Yeah. So
Great. Then guard no name.
yeah, I was gonna say, there's a freebie for you, Tom.
Thanks. Look at my list and go, good, I can save these for more important people.
I think at that point, Valentine would just lead everybody up to the third story that we know isn't bugged so we can have an actual conversation. Choose the centermost room, close all the doors. It doesn't have windows, like all the paranoid but functional
Yeah, and your shady
requirements
crew
of-
can be like banging pots and pans downstairs, making the big show.
Perfect. Making the weirdest dinner.
We are cooking dinners!
No music, huh? It's just got to be banging up pots and pans. Dinner. Just very weird.
Someone's just
Oh
doing
no,
soundscape.
where's the salt? Oh, I can't find
I
it.
can't start a fire. The friction will make the heat. Rubbing pots
Mamma
together.
Clang,
mia!
clang, clang.
Just no music. This is what we got to do.
Yep. All right, so clearly there are some surprises on this world that we were not entirely prepared for. To run an effective list of our assets at this moment, we have the four of us, we have a power fist. Just for continuity's sake, shotgun umbrella was left on board the ship. Something I would generally sell as probably being in Valentine's quarters because it rarely comes up, but it does exist. He has a compact las pistol that's purposefully designed for hiding that I think he would have brought to the manor with him to hide it. Is that cool? Or?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so, and we have a las pistol. Other than that, we have anything we could take off of the guards if things go tremendously poorly. But at this point, we're a suspect solely because we're from outside this environment. Frankly, it's not a bad choice on the scale of things. A strange one, but not a bad one. Our greatest strength will be that Lord Van Houten here was already clearly winning the race. He didn't need to assassinate opponents.
Right. And
Also, you didn't actually do it,
we were
which is helpful.
also first to the crash there for
That is true.
Balancing. I'm assuming we'll be interviewed about that.
I'm assuming so, yes. Also, unfortunately, Attikus, you called our ship the Marnie's Song in front of the security team instead of the roguish tradester. My suggestion would be, when that undoubtedly comes up in conversation, that's just a previous ship you owned.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Don't worry
I
about
wasn't
it.
thinking it won't happen again, sir.
Excellent. I'm just saying, if it comes up, the Marnie's Song was our ship previous to this one. Also,
So I'm going to cut you off there. Attikus, I'm going to need you to please roll a... I'm going to go with a cool on this, or discipline. Let's go with discipline. I'm going to say difficulty of 3. And no boost or setback. This is just to see whether or not you're going to take any strain damage from fucking up a cover story in front of Valentyne. I think
Yeah.
this would weigh heavily on you.
It seems frivolous, but Attikus would be using a story point because like he takes his infraction seriously.
Yeah. All good.
Remove and then add. Okay. Ready to roll.
Go for it.
1 triumph and 2 advantages.
All right.
Sorry, I can't help myself. I just get so nervous.
I had
Yeah,
forgotten
I
what triumphs look like. That's a triumph.
All right. So I'm going to say that given how well you've been doing at all this doesn't shake you as a like, oh no, I fucked up. It's instead like oh good, this is like a learning moment and a chance to improve. Given that it's a triumph, I think we'll say that Tantornos isn't briefed enough to know what the name of the ship was meant to be, and as a result, the information is kind of dead in the water for him. It's just
Okay.
like he heard it, but who's he gonna tell? He's not there to investigate you. He's literally just there to like guard the perimeter. So yeah, Attikus, you have a brief moment of possible panic, but as a sign of sort of personal growth, you take it as a tactical improvement. This is just a thing you can do better. But for us, narratively, we'll spend the triumph to basically kill the rumor on site, which is just a guard not being briefed enough to know any better.
Okay.
Noise.
Continue.
So, we're going to need to prepare for the hunt, which I assume is still going to happen, and the event that will occur afterwards. I can speak with the guards about the possibility of getting you some practice shooting, as we will need to source a weapon for you for the purposes of this hunt anyways. Lord Van Houten. In terms of preparation, trying to either capture competition alive or lure a creature into assaulting them, we are going to need some sort of pheromone, some sort of thing, and we're going to need a way to get it onto the property without anyone knowing. The Lord and I have created legitimate contacts, which will be of absolutely no use for this purpose, so I do believe that this will fall on you, Rawls and Clarence. Perhaps you could speak to some of the gentlemen and gentlewomen downstairs banging pots at this moment.
Understand. We will see what they can stir up.
I like this.
Wow, that got Tom really good.
Just the idea of Morgan making a pun is excellent. I like it.
Excellent. So I'll source the legitimate weapons. You'll take a look into pheromones or other things that can lure the animals, and we will prepare for the hunt tomorrow. The only thing that remains is to make sure that you, Eli, we're up here, I can do this. All right, you, Eli, fuck this. And you, Attikus, are going to need to work on poetry, as Lord Van Houten requires an artistic representation for the fall art demonstration. If we could have some idea of the themes of your work, then Morgan and I could figure out how to stage it dramatically. And I desperately hope that this whole occurrence will not mess with our ability to create an effective maze for the party.
Bang, bang, smash, pots, bang.
Well, maze construction is out of our hands at this point, isn't it, sir?
Correct, yes. It will either happen or it won't.
Right. And with a lockdown going on, is that going to make procurement of various things more difficult, Morgan, Eli, or is that more the level you're used to operating at?
I'm not used to any of this.
Right, me neither.
Without all of my gear, unfortunately, getting more information is going to be more difficult. I had thought perhaps before everything got locked down that I could check out the Billensong residence for information, but now that is rather out of our hands.
Could Lord Van Houten make an appointment to express his condolences, with his people present?
Right now, that has been banned by the king. However, high risk, high reward. We could organize a meeting, see how it goes with the king's representative that will make their way here. And
right.
Should that go well or poorly, we could always follow up to try to get permissions to do additional things. Or worst case scenario, approach the Space Marine to see if it would be possible to make a few changes to our security arrangements. Again, I don't like that option. I'd like it to be at the bottom of the list. Right now, my hope is the representative shows up, appreciates the honesty of our story, we are cleared and able to move forwards, or we can offer our services to the crown.
Right. Okay, then. I need shooting practice and poetry practice.
Correct. Also, I'm interested to hear, does anyone have a theory on who actually did this? We know it wasn't us.
Wasn't
Tom's pointing at Tyler. But
Like, what the fuck?
that character's not in this room. We know who God's blaming, but that doesn't help us.
I mean, my first thought was Versailles. He came down but didn't get hurt.
Possibly, yes. And I found, while overhearing in the crowd, that the house, the lower decks people of the Versailles and Kyros family were closer than they appear. They are discussing training and sharing other resources, which is very strange, considering that their houses are known for, shall we say, hating each other at a near genetic level.
Huh. Well, I mean, ship sabotage is cowardly. Who's the most spineless of all the houses? Who's afraid of honorable frontal confrontation?
Theoretically, Ballensong is dead. Barbastine has very little to gain. Kiros is around and a psychopath.
We're just thinking about the people at the head. Are Kuros and Versailles people friendly without the leadership's direction?
You think the under people were doing this without even the head of the family's permission or knowledge?
I'm just saying it's a stupid world with stupid rules and people at the bottom getting shit. I saw this on the lower decks sometimes. People thinking they can rise up and take control of things for themselves.
Well, Eli's right. This world don't make no sense.
Doesn't work on a Navy ship, but might work here.
I do agree that that's entirely possible. However, we don't have any evidence that suggests it, and we're not aware of any of the players in that part of the game. So let's hope it's not a conspiracy that requires us to delve into another stratosphere of the entire functioning of this heretical world. Speaking of heresy...
Yes, I was going to mention another unfortunate complication. I got no reaction from the Lady Ballensong, which does not matter now, but the Lord Voidstein had a very intense reaction to Ivno and called me a heretic, which I think speaks more for his own knowledge than anything about me.
That will be entirely true. However, we're going to need to do some quick work to make sure that the king's representatives and, for lack of a better term, inquisitors don't find evidence that would be otherwise damning on your behalf.
Exactly. A complication, especially now that we are without our medical bay.
Yes, it will make things somewhat more complicated and somewhat simpler at the same time. I'm going to need a knife ordered from the kitchens. Clarence, could you find us something sharp, please?
Of course.
Excellent. Lord Van Houten, feel free to take time studying, thinking, whatever you need to center yourself moving forward.
Just discomforted by that, taking time, thinking.
Eli, you also have the servo skull situation that I don't think they would be aware of.
Oh.
Is Attikus aware of the markings? No. So that was all just kind of happening in front of him, and he's just...
That's the way Morgan rolls.
Yeah, he won't question it. If he sees it, he'll be like, hold on. But yeah, that's fine.
Honestly, after the Beast Man.
I was going to say, technically, you wouldn't know the symbol unless you would have been exposed to a Slaneshi cult, even if you saw it.
I think you would understand a fucked up Aquila, though.
I think he would feel weird looking at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he shouldn't know what Slanesh symbols look like.
Well, I mean, I guess there's an interesting question, which is where my brain runs as Valentyne, which is a fucked up eagle is just a stylized eagle, and a lot of systems have a different understanding of the Emperor and general symbols. The heretical symbols attached to it are the like crisis piece, because that's straight up heretical guilt, as opposed to people travel the galaxy and get a different eagle.
In my head, from what I remember of the slide-on transfers that used to be very rare at my local Games Workshop, a lot of Slaneshi stuff is very circular and kind of like rounded. And my guess is it would at least look Xenos. Like, I don't think anything in the like Imperium language is High Gothic is, I think, like...
So the way that it looks is it really does at first glance just look like a big Aquila, because it's actually, man, and I spent months thinking I said the wrong word and now I can't remember the word for it. There's a certain word for it, but it's actually the Emperor's original Aquila. And so it just looks slightly different. And then once it got out of 30K and went to 40K, it's a different style. Yeah. But that's most of what it is. It's just that there's creepy symbols in the wings, and if you looked closer.
Okay.
And then also there's a Slanesh symbol at the bottom, but that would only be if you knew exactly what that meant.
All right. So then I think it's safe to say might feel a little bit ill, but not immediate.
Not we have to kill the heretic necessarily.
Yeah, okay. You wouldn't know exactly.
No, if it's an Aquila, like, that this is recognizable. He's like, good.
Yeah.
Also, in my head, that's just
showing it off. But
it's always around fist hand. Look, right.
But that's like the thing that's messed up about it is that the Emperor's children still use the Aquila to be like, hey, fuck you, Emperor. Even though it is really the same thing. Yeah.
Historically, they were the only legion allowed to wear it.
There you go.
Sad.
Someday I'll remember the word. Now it's going to bother me.
You want to roll for it?
Tom knows.
Roll for whether or not you can look it up on your phone.
Gatekeeping it.
Thank
right.
you,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a tech use check.
All right.
It should be noted too, Morgan and I in our scheme to I don't know, fuck up Bobberstein and Guinevere and all that stuff.
Wait, what?
Did you do it?
No.
No, he phrased it very poorly, but at the party I realized that Bolensong and Bobberstein, it seemed like, especially Bobberstein seemed to like her, so I figured we could get them both to like one another and stop going after the Duke. But now that, well, dead in the water, or the ground, I suppose.
Yeah, but I reprogrammed a Bobberstein servo skull to deliver a letter to Guinevere that she'll never get, and that servo skull was also intercepting Lizardman's, dictation.
What?
Wait,
Hang on.
okay, wait, just to make a few steps. I'm going to try to piece this together. So you thought you could bring them together. You created a false letter from...
Terseus.
I don't care who wrote it, but a letter was written that was from
Bobberstein
to
Bolensong, that's correct.
and that was sent on a hacked servo skull at the event we were just escaping from.
Yes.
If that is found, that's going to look very bad for us, but continue.
Why would it look bad for us? It was sent through Bobberstein's.
Yes, but you falsified a letter from one major player to another who just died, which could be seen as some way trying to appear innocent to Flame Ball. It could come back. Essentially, we're fucking around in the accounts of a woman who's just dead. Anyways, honestly, not a bad plan overall, though. I don't complain. We didn't know there was going to be murders. What's the second thing? He says, pointing at Clarence.
There was some sort of interference or something coming through, and it sounded like Lizzo Lizardman was dictating whatever newsletter he was writing in real time on the race.
And did you capture this skull? Do we have it?
No, sir.
Do we have any information on Lizardman's deciphering, the way the coding was done, the frequency that the information was traveling upon, anything?
No, sir.
Was it destroyed?
I do not know.
All right. So, to be clear, Lord Van Houten, we know nothing about this servo skull. We know nothing about Bolensong and Bobberstein. That's going to have to live with you two in case it comes back to you in forms of questioning. In which case, honestly, the truth is probably best. You thought you could spin them off and then give yourself an advantage in the contest. That's fine. That'll actually read clean, and it's true.
Yeah, these people do that bullshit all the time anyways, don't they?
Let's hope so. And if you could get me that knife immediately.
Yes, sir. Clarence is going to run down.
Easy to get a knife. It's only pots and pans being banged.
Cool.
They're shady. They understand safety. I mean, they have their own knives, but the kitchen knives are all fine.
Cool.
You get.
He's going to bring him a paring knife and a flensing knife. Just give him a little selection.
Great. Morgan, this is going to be tremendously unpleasant. Would you rather this just be you and I, or will you require someone to hold you still?
No, I just wish Toby to watch.
Done. Both of you can go about your business. I will require a hot basin of water. Eli, if you could organize that afterwards, and some medical wrappings. Just go approach Hugh. I know you don't know where they are. I don't know either.
Eli just looks to Morgan.
Morgan just gives him kind of a slow nod of, yeah, what you are thinking is what I am thinking.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right. So as that unpleasantness commences, Morgan, I'm going to need a survival, resilience.
So to be completely clear on what Valentyne is doing, along with the cuts and all the rest of the bullshit, just so that this paints the picture that he is aiming for. He's not interested in taking the whole thing off. The fact that there's an eagle is fine. He just has to screw up the symbols enough that it's not clear that any of them are heretical things. He's not looking to take the whole thing off the back. His person wearing an eagle is fine. And again, as an inquisitor, he's not bothered by an eagle. He doesn't care what era it's from. It's just anything heretical has to go and has to be removed. Right. And he's going to play it across. His goal, especially having two different knives, is he wants to make it look like Rolls Varn got scratched across the back by the ship that almost hit her. So make it look like accidental scoring in like diagonal lines across the back that just inconsistently scarred up her fucking injury so that she can just say, oh, I got hit by a ship on the way out and that's what happened. And then it goes like, you're a heretic. And it's like, oh, I've had an eagle the whole time. That's easy cover story. Of course the Voidstain would think even an Aquila is heretical.
All right. So we'll say then resilience 2 difficulty, given that this isn't like a full back situation, which I was kind of worried it was going to be.
Me too.
I'll give you a boost for the variety of knives. Valentyne has options here, so it's not like he's like, well, we'll make do with what we've got. He's able to be more tactical about this. I'll give you a boost, Morgan, for I think despite how damaging receiving this was, the idea of defacing it is actually like reassuring.
Totally.
So you get a boost for that. That said, I will also give you a setback for like, this is the most traumatic moment of your life other than your crew dying. So, and all the things you named after them.
Yep.
I was going to say, I'll also throw it out there because this would not be easy. We should probably have a setback because this isn't in the medical bay and there is no anesthetic. This is just knives in a back
straight up,
in a bedroom.
There is likely liquor on hand, but I don't think that's going to make this easier. That will just
Morgan doesn't want any of that anyway.
Infection. Valentyne would have laid out his strategy for what he was doing, approximately how many knife cuts he thought. Like, he's very methodical about this and aware that this is miserable. So it's not a land of like, now for me to work, and you just have to lay there for an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
He'd give you the countdowns. He'd know how many things there were. He's got to be fast, but he's not cruel about it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to spend a story point.
Okay.
Because this is...
And I will also spend a story point.
Right.
Yeah, and Morgan she's trying to be as stoic as possible and would also just, I endeavor to hold on as long as I can and still be useful after this tomorrow.
Excellent.
And...
roll those dice. We'll see what happens behind
2
closed doors.
successes, 1 advantage.
All right. So obviously it is an excruciating and an unpleasant affair. Throughout the rest of the house, you hear some sort of like thumping around upstairs, but nothing else, which is good because the king's envoy arrives during this situation, and had you failed that check, the sounds of your screams would have been very, very concerning.
I think since it was successful and you didn't hear that, I think Morgan would figure out the moment at which she would just be starting to scream and be like, I need something in my mouth. And then moving on from there.
Yep. It's like afterwards, like the basin of water goes in, just a bunch of like chewed spoons, like wooden spoons come out. But all things considered, as successful as it could be. And I think also Morgan, weirdly, having someone do it surgically and with an intention, having been through like the For the Glory of Slaanesh version of this, having someone literally just like it's still awful, but it's like markedly less.
Yeah. And I think the comparison too is great because the Slaaneshi culty version was tons of people and roarious and music and drugs and insanity, and just being solo in a room with a guy who's like, I'm gonna do this, there you go, is like, okay, I can center myself on this.
Yeah. So while all that's happening, the envoy arrives. So there is like Hugh obviously would answer the door. But there is a staff sergeant from the Royal Guard. Lillian Oliver has arrived. This is a Olivia Colman type of lady. So just kind of like shows up, just kind of like solid, sort of solid business like expression, very much like about the business of the day. And trying to kind of reveal as little about herself as possible. This is obviously a tremendously strange circumstance, and you can tell that in a very much Olivia Colman way, she's going above and beyond to try and suppress how out of the ordinary this all is. Behind her, there's an imperial. Everything's imperial. There's a royal aircraft, so similar to the sort of like dropship that came in to repair your roof from the Balansong family. This is a very fancy sort of like, think like Cinderella's carriage from the Disney film, like that, but airship. So about the size of a Halo Pelican, if that makes sense. So kind of like a large helicopter. And it is just kind of parked on the edge of the property. So it's Lillian, Oliver, and then two guard. And she just says, look, I'm sorry to interrupt your evening, but I've been sent by the king to discuss today's events. Is the Lord of the House home? And Hugh says, yes, of course, please, come in. Welcome to House Van. And he's in full, this is what a clerk has trained for. Like he is in his element, and is desperately trying to draw attention away from the maze that is under construction. Where would you all be during, obviously Morgan and Valentyne are tied up upstairs, but where would Attikus and Eli be hanging out?
We have no firearms to practice the hunt prep with, right?
No.
Okay. So then I think it's probably just because based on the last orders he received, it's poetry work, and that means Attikus is with Eli just trying to figure out poem shit. So what's a room for that? Is there a study or something?
Sure. Yeah. You can have a fancy study full of moldy books, and I think we established that there was an Ehrlich skin rug that was moldy and terrible. So we'll say it's that room. It's just like a classic, big wooden table, big bookshelves. There's probably a bust of an old Van Houten that does again look vaguely like you. Like if you take your glasses off and squint, it's in the ballpark. There's a fire roaring there. I assume you've got, here's an interesting question. Would they let the people on the ship off the ship for impounding it?
Do they know there's people
I
on
was
the
going
ship?
to say, that's a very big question.
Yes, it is very big. That's why my brain went, oh no.
Or would they just lock it down? Because we got a fucking beast man on there. We got a priest who pulls a gun on anybody who tries to walk inside.
I don't think they would have gone on board. I think they would have locked it down with a message of to those on board. Because the other thing is, you know what? Yes, they would have just locked it down. They respect the sovereignty of a rogue trader's ship, but this is very much this is less about the people on the ship getting off as it is Morgan disappearing into the night is basically the concern.
That makes sense.
There would have been an announcement to the ship, which of course the ship would have everyone on board is some kind of heretical monster. Would have been Kent Redwick is just sure thing, no worries, I'm normal. And they're like, we don't care. What's wrong with you? So unfortunately, that does mean that your communication, for now at least, barring royal edict of some sort, has been cut off to your resident poet. So you are stuck with the artistic musings of Eli Sharp, which we've been discussing.
Weirdly enough, even when we had access, we only said these two make poems. So I don't know why, as a party, we were like, we're going legit on this one. We did.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, Treseus was tied up writing that beautiful letter from
Everlasting Love.
Yeah, Everlasting Love to a dead woman.
He's gonna love hearing that. That's how it is. All his hard work went towards
The drama.
She exploded.
It made her feel so much that her heart exited her body.
Yeah.
Along with her organs and her blood.
It was that good. Just like the real Cyrano de Bergerac, I think. I haven't read it. All right. So Eli and Attikus, before Staff Sergeant Oliver arrives, what are you discussing artistically?
I think I don't know how much of the conversation is productive. I think the guy walks in on just the seventh time Lord Van Houten has asked Clarence
what rhymes with Emperor?
No, can we just get off of the rhyming stuff. It doesn't matter.
Well, that's all it is rhyming stuff, isn't it?
No, it doesn't have to rhyme at all.
What kind of poem doesn't have to rhyme?
Most of them don't rhyme.
No.
Children's poems rhyme.
All the children's poems I know are all the poems I know.
All right, no. There's more. Look, Okay.
Rhyming's harder than just saying words. Why is it kids do the rhyming and then adults or whatever?
Because the thing is, you have to learn the rules so that you can break them in an interesting way. But here's the thing:
who would want to break the rules?
Everyone here is just obsessed with war and the fact that you're an actual war person, right? Like, you went to war, you fought, you've got this power fist.
It's true, yeah.
So just talk about the realities of that. And then everyone will be like, oh my God, it's so beautiful and bloody and real. They're all stupid and have no experience with this shit. So write about stuff they don't have experience about.
So just talk about a war and killing and call it a poem?
Yeah, except that you replace all like the bloody words and horrible things with like something that's like pretty.
Oh, I crushed an orc's flower until flowers came out, and his flowers drenched my face. That sort of thing.
I mean, maybe you could use a flower for one of the words.
All right. And what else is, I don't know, nice? That's not the emperor. And
I have no idea.
Let's
look at these books. I'm like, I don't know. The hum of like an engine is beautiful when it's working properly.
Right. So I crushed an orc's flower until the hum of his engine drenched my face and chest.
Sure.
All right. That's line 1. Write it down.
At which point the doors open and Staff Sergeant Lillian Oliver enters. And she just says, apologies, I don't mean to interrupt, but I've been sent here by King Fitzgerald to speak with you. Is now a good time?
And Clarence is just like stands up, like hands behind his back, and does a slight bow to her.
At ease, Clarence. Yes, this is a fine time. How can we help with the investigation?
And at that, she kind of like, her shoulders drop like a half inch. Like, she's just seen how military this place is, which immediately puts her at ease. And she kind of just like takes off her cap and sort of steps in and says, the events of today have been quite upsetting to the society. As an outsider, you may not, and she like gestures to your power fist, says, you may not be as unfamiliar with violence and death as we are here, but short of accidents that occur around the planet, large, very public occurrences like what happened today are few and far between. And the fact that 2 ships were affected during the celestial season and 2 of the foremost heirs of the society is of tremendous concern to King Fitzgerald. As an outsider, there is, of course, some trepidation about you and your household. However, as everyone who watched the race can attest, you won rather handily before any of the violence, and it seems that even had the Lady Ball and Song landed, she still wouldn't have beat you in the race. So personally, and admittedly some of my staff, see no reason why you would interfere. The king has asked that I come and get your account of what occurred in the hopes that we can put any questions of your involvement to rest as quickly as possible. Again, as the clear victor, it really seems as though this is more a formality than anything, but it has fallen to me, and I do intend to do my job.
Of course. My account would be, well, when would you like me to start in terms of recalling the events of today?
And at this, she looks, again, just like a little out of her league on this. She's not really meant to investigate. Her job is march people around and keep the order. She says, I suppose mostly what occurred on the finish line, and if you forgive me, did you have any reason to wish Lady Valensong ill?
No, I did not.
Can you roll me a... So weird. There's no...
It ends up being charm, which feels wrong. Yeah, based on the system.
Yeah. Let's go with charm, please. This is gonna be difficulty 2. I'm gonna give you a boost because she wants to believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Can we give him a boost because he's not lying?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's probably it from my side.
Okay. 1 success, 2 advantage.
Great. So she nods and says, "You'll have to forgive me, Lord Van Houten. This is really more of a formality. I was just sent ahead to ensure that, that you could be trusted."
I see. To be trusted, is there any call to service that I may answer?
Perhaps, but that will not be up to me. That will be up to him. And she kind of like says something into her collar, and a few moments later, you hear heavy thumping coming through the front entrance of the house, and you hear Hugh Smiggleton just go, "Oh shit!" At which point, the door creaks open, and kind of like leaning under it and forcing his way in is Forrest Pollard.
Bleh.
Just so I can make sure I've got this part figured out.
Mm-hmm.
When someone who is like Attikus is admittedly like special, he's got a power fist, but he is like a rank and file, generally like a frontline kind of shock troop almost, right?
Yep.
My general thing is that like Space Marines are godlike mythic heroes.
The Emperor's Angels.
The Emperor's Angels, yeah.
Colloquially known.
A Space Marine without any kind of livery to the Empire, which is, I believe, how this guy was described. Does that read generally? Or is that like Space Marine's a Space Marine's a Space Marine? This guy's a hero. I mean, I love him.
It depends. The average Imperial citizen doesn't know anything about the way Space Marine chapters operate. They keep it secret. Okay. The Inquisition has like, oh, this one guy made friends with the Blood Angels, so he's the only one who knows shit about how they work. I mean, in my opinion, unless
no, I fully agree. I would take it as, and unfortunately the movies are absolute garbage at this, but I would take this in Star Wars as like Darth Vader is like a fucking ghost. Where people talk about him, but like to the average Imperial citizen, it's like, oh yeah, like our friendly neighborhood stormtroopers. And then like I hear there's this guy who is really spooky. And to my mind, that's always been, and it's hard because like in 40K particularly, the Space Marines are so fucking everywhere in all the media that when I was first like getting into the hobby, I was like, oh yeah, they are the stormtroopers. And it's like, no, they are Darth Vader to the Imperial Guard.
Got it. Okay.
Stormtroopers. So no, I think though, that with all that in mind, the lack of knowledge would probably bump you toward this is one of the Emperor's Angels.
Yeah, if I engage in the same kind of rumor mongering that all grunts are like, oh man, I heard there was a Marine on World 2 days ago. Oh, he must have been the reason that whole regiment got blown up or whatever kind of thing. Like, yeah, okay, cool. So that gives me like a great deal of like Attikus, straightens up. So, sort of similar to like when Valentyne like pays him a compliment kind of thing. I'm just like, whoa, this is huge for me to be in the presence of this figure. But that's tempered somewhat by A, there's a job to do, and B, I think more importantly helping this is like, this is a Space Marine who appears to be the bodyguard to a king of a planet that has like completely seceded from the Empire?
No, it's under the Imperium, but it is...
There's no Imperial influence here.
From the reports you've read, I mean, I can probably just level with you about this. King Fitzgerald is rumored to be related to one of the Lords of Terra,
right?
And is like the general reports are like likely an illegitimate son of someone, or at least the line is. So this very much feels like I need to keep my dirty little secret out of the way. So here's a planet that got space nuked for heresy that you can just go dick around on. Like this is honestly sending your kid to the new world. Being like, sure, go live in Canada. You'll be fine over there. Like it's
a billionaire's private island. It's technically still in America, but it's a billionaire's private island.
But as a result, and because of the influence on the High Lords of Terra, the High Lord of Terra influence on this place, it's to the billionaire piece, it's a lot of overlooked.
Okay.
Like, you don't need to pay property tax. It's fine. That said, a personal space marine is fucking unheard of. Like, that isn't.
Yeah. Okay.
That isn't standard billionaire super yacht. That
Sorry,
is
I didn't mean to like.
No, it's
ponder.
worth,
It's just like,
no. It's worth going over because we last talked about this in our real time like months ago, but also in game time like before any of you arrived. And I think for Attikus, a lot of those details wouldn't have mattered to you at that time. But now it's like
okay, he was like, I think I can't even remember if I saw him, but like he was like walking away from a party that we saw from like a balcony. Now he's in the room looking at me, and I'm about to talk to him.
Yeah, he's also fucking big in this room.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
And
it's just
Attikus, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, sorry. So yes, all of that kind of going through Atticus's head here. So eyes like wide, can't help but like physically show that he is very much affected by the presence of this space marine.
So he steps into the room. He's big. Space marines are what, like 7-8 feet?
It ends up being 7-8 if he's in armor minus helmet. Could be anywhere between 8 to 9.
Yeah. So he's not wearing a helmet. That said, he does have now. He's got his bolt pistol strapped on. He also has a power axe hanging from his belt that he didn't previously have. And he looks you up and down, and his eyes kind of alight on your. He doesn't acknowledge Clarence.
Eli's at strict attention
Yeah,
once
Atticus
again.
is standing at attention as well.
Yeah.
Because Eli would have like heard about them like being coordinated in attacks they were part of, but other than that, no reason to have any sort of direct.
Mechanically, this mechanically won't come up immediately, but just so you're both aware, for both Lillian Oliver and Forrest Pollard, the fact that you're both at attention constantly is working in your favor subconsciously because they're just like, oh, good, people who aren't idiots. And it's weird because this whole society is so. Like, again, if you think about like raiding a billionaire's yacht, and it's like, they're not going to stand up. They're going to continue to hang out in their hot tub surrounded by supermodels. Yeah. It's like the fact that you're both like, they don't register it as a cool, good thing. It's just, it means that you're basically working from a level playing field, which you wouldn't be otherwise. So he looks you up and down, and his eyes rest on the power fist and narrow, not necessarily in an accusatory way, just in kind of a, like a big trained guy in armor sees thing capable of punching armor real hard. And he just says, Lord Van Houten, I must say I am impressed with your armaments. I trust you understand how to use it.
Yes, sir.
Good discipline. We don't see that around here a lot. You'll have to apologize. I will have to apologize for my appearance here, but death in the celestial season is bad for everyone here. You understand?
Yes, sir.
You have recently arrived. You've brought with you a rogue trader. Did she murder Lady Balansong?
No, sir.
And he like considers that, but again, like you're giving him military answers, and he is a fan of that. And he just kind of nods and says, good. His Majesty, King Fitzgerald, has need of you. It would seem that you have been named as the executor of Lady Balansong's estate. Yes, that was my reaction as well. We don't understand why, but her will was amended yesterday. Today she is dead. This cannot be allowed to continue. The Duke Wixthrop must find a companion worthy of his high nobility this celestial season.
Yes,
There's
sir.
a lot at stake here for the society that you can't possibly understand as one newly come, but the more time you spend here, the more you'll come to realize that these pageants have meaning beyond what you understand.
Yes, sir.
So, I need you to round up those amongst your house that you trust most. And he reaches out one massive gauntleted hand and just drops keys onto the table in front of you and says, you'll find a solicitor at the Balansong estate. I trust you will report anything you discover to me.
Yes, sir.
Good. This must be solved soon. After all, Summer is coming.
Yes, sir.
And on that, he nods, he turns on his heel and stomps out.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Dio Vassis, Loki Burrito, Squishy Werewolf, Remy, Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.